Good day, my fellow Malaysians. Today I have another very important issue to share with you. Please bear with me because it is very technical, involves a lot of legal arguments. Alright? But it's so important. Last year, when I said there was a coup to subvert the country, the constitution and the Agong, alright? My critics call me Matthias a royalist. Okay? That means they're against the royalists. Because if you, my critics, right, condemn me as a royalist and disagree with my interpretation and accuse me of being a royalist, that means they're anti-royalist. They're anti the Agong, right? Am I right? Because I'm saying the Agong is not a puppet, it's not a figurehead. By saying so, I'm a royalist. What are they? I'm telling you, they are closet republic. Okay? Advocates of republic. They're undermining the constitution for the ulterior motive, and I'll show you due course. Alright? Why the Agong and the rulers cannot be, alright, puppets and the figureheads to be bullied by politicians in power. If truth be told, the political leaders are more corrupt, more treasonous than even historically, right? The rulers which have misbehaved or misconduct themselves. No comparison. The bunch of political idiots are scumbags, right? Scumbags. They're worse by far any rulers in the history of Malaysia. Now, some of you may not realize, right? If they allege and accuse the rulers as puppet, right? They're useless. They have no role to play. Let's remind you quickly the history of how the Malayan agreement that gave us independence, right, was constructed. Okay? May I read to you now? Before we declare independence on 31st August, okay, in Merdeka Stadium, don't forget this, the Federation of Malaya Agreement 1957 made on 5th August between the British High Commissioner on behalf of Queen Elizabeth II and the Malay rulers. And that those agreements contained the new constitution of the Federation of Malaya and the new constitutions of Penang and Malacca. In the Federation, the Federal Constitution Ordinance 1957 passed on 27 August 1957 by the Legislative Council of the Federation of Malaya from under the Federation of Malaya Agreement 1948. The new constitutions of the Federation as well as Penang and Malacca were given the force of law by the ordinance. In each of the Malay states, state enactments, and in Malacca and Penang, resolutions of the state legislatures approving and giving force of the law to the federal constitution. And then later, under the British Parliament, they passed a law called, the Federation of Malaysia Independence Act 1957. That was tabled in Parliament, in British Parliament. Now, if common sense it, if the rulers are puppets, figurehead, no role to play, alright? Why did, on the 5th August 1957, alright, an agreement was made between Queen Elizabeth and the Malay rulers. First, understand? Every ruler of the Malay states enter into a separate agreement, alright, to come together to establish the Federation of Malaya. With Mother England first, understand? Without the agreement by the rulers with England, there could be no independence. Okay. there can be no independence. Alright? Because the federation agreement consists of, right, those agreements between the Malay rulers and the Malay states, alright, and the Swiss settlements. You understand that? You forgot that, did it? Right? And scumbags, lawyers, and professors in university law faculties, right, gloss over this fact as if they, the lawyers, right, and some of these politicians, right, they are the only one who contributed to the establishment of the Federation Malay Agreement. Now, having said that, okay, another thing will shock all of you, all right? It is said very clearly by Article 40. Sorry, Article 39, the executive authority of the Federation states, the executive authority of the Federation shall be vested in the young Dipertuan Agong. Okay? And 40, young Dipertuan Agong to act on advice. But there's a caveat. It says here, in the exercise of his function under this constitution or federal law, the young Dipertuan Agong shall act in accordance with the advice of the cabinet or a minister acting under the general authority of the cabinet, as otherwise provided. Okay? Now, it's very clear. But Article 40, right, the Agong shall act on advice, right, from the cabinet or a minister, right, given the authority, right, okay. Okay. Then, but 42 says here, the young Dipertuan Agong may act in his discretion in the performance of the following functions, that is to say, A, the appointment of the Prime Minister, B, the withholding of the consent to a request for the dissolution of Parliament, alright, and in any other case mentioned in the Constitution. So, in specific areas, the Agong has a discretion to not have to act on advice. Okay? 41 is very clear. Okay? Must act on advice. But doesn't mean in every instance the Agong must take advice from the cabinet. 42 says no. Okay? In appointment of the Prime Minister. Alright? And then in Article 41, the young Dipertuan Agong shall be the Supreme Commander, shall be a mandatory of the armed forces of the Federation, not the Prime Minister, not the Cabinet. The Agong shall be the Supreme Commander of the armed forces of the Federation. So, you have a puppet, is it? Do you have a puppet or figurehead to be the commander of the Supreme Commander of the armed forces? Then the kicker, okay, are so professors in university, are so lawyers in bar council or whatever, or former AGs, this, the cabinet, right? Article 43. The young Dipertuan Agong shall appoint a Jemaah Menteri, cabinet ministers, to advise him in the exercise of the functions of his function. Then 41.2. The cabinet shall be appointed as follows. That is to say, A, the young Dipertuan Agong shall first appoint a Perdana Menteri, Prime Minister, to preside over the cabinet, a member of the House of Representatives who in his judgment is likely to command the confidence of the majority of the members of the House. In his judgment, subjective. Tapi, forget, we presume that the Agong can only appoint someone who won the election. The party was the most members in parliament. It's the wrong reading. It says here, a member of the House of Representatives who in his judgment is likely to command the confidence of the majority of the members of the House. Ini, no advisor, his appointment of the Prime Minister is his discretion. right? Based on his judgment. Now, look back in February, March of 2022, last year. When the collapse of Pakatan Harapan government took place, right? All the members, right, the then Pakatan Harapan government was fallen, and the opposition went to see the Agong. And who did Agong appoint as Prime Minister? Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. And he included, right, members of the opposition then say, no, and pass. Can you see? Who constituted the majority of members in parliament to support Muhyiddin, who was from Bersatu, part of Pakatan Harapan. So, is the Agong hands tied that he only appoints someone from Pakatan Harapan? Pakatan Harapan collapsed totally. But does it mean that Agong cannot appoint any other person other than Pakatan Harapan, who won the majority in the last election? But for the purpose of appointment of the Prime Minister, election doesn't count. What counts is the point of appointment of the Prime Minister. Was there a member who command the majority? The confidence of the majority of members of the House. The majority can be made up of members of Parliament who are from the ruling party, then before collapse, and also from the opposition parties. That's what it means. So what happened was historic. First time in the history of Malaysia. And Malaya then previously. You guys are so stupid, so blind. Agong acted not as a puppet. In accordance with the Constitution, Article 43(2)(a). You stupid asshole. Muhyiddin at the particular time had the accordance of the majority of the members of Parliament. Understand? His own party Bersatu plus others in the opposition ranks. They give rise to majority. Tun Mahathir so stupid, plus his lawyers, wherever they are, and Anwar thought that Agong must only appoint from their ranks. Understand? Because they won the election. Irrelevant. And this is a safety valve. Because, can you imagine now? See, we assume that whoever leads a party, right, is a virgin, holy, good. What if, right, a leader of a party, okay, won the election, was a scoundrel, corrupt, criminal asshole, money launderer? Are you saying that the Agong cannot appoint someone else? After interviewing all the members of Parliament, hey, can you accept this scoundrel, a criminal, a money launderer, as a Prime Minister? I'll now give you a chance. Tell me. Yes, he may be a leader of party, right? But Agong has discretion. Not necessarily the leader of the party shall be appointed as Prime Minister. That's why Agong rejected Tun Mahathir. Understand? He told Agong, I don't want to be Prime Minister. Interim only. Alright? Anwar lobbied. He failed. He failed. You understand that? So this is a critical article of the Constitution which lawyers, supposedly, who knows the law, did nothing. Okay? And then 43(6). See, you don't understand, right? Even Agong, before he takes, all right, hold on. Sorry. Any minister, before he takes office, right, must take an oath, no? Do you know what is the oath about? Let me tell you, the oath of office of a minister, tell me, I, having been elected or appointed to the office of whatever, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully discharge the duties of that office to the best of my ability, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Malaysia and will preserve, protect and defend its constitution. Every minister takes an oath to defend the constitution. But all this while, the scumbags in the AP, in the PKR, Amanah, have not defended the constitution. Instead, they heap hatred, misconception, misrepresentation about the Agong's role in the constitution. But the oath of office says they must defend the constitution. Therefore, they are scumbags, treasonous, traitors to our constitution. All right? And then, even the Agong, before he becomes Agong, he must take an oath. If an Agong doesn't take the oath, he can't be the Agong. Okay? And the words are this. The key words of the oath of Agong is as follows, right? The key words. And by virtue of that oath, do solemnly and truly declare that we shall justly and faithfully carry out our duties in the administration of Malaysia in accordance with the laws and constitution which have been promulgated or which may be promulgated from time to time in the future. Further, we do solemnly and truly declare that we shall at all times protect the religion of Islam and uphold the rules of law and order in the country. The oath of Agong is to protect, the constitution and the rules, the laws, right, and order of the country, to preserve peace. So in February, when all those bastards, politicians, right, were grabbing for power, the Agong, in accordance to his oath of office, act correctly in upholding the constitution and law and order of the country, when everybody else, right, was grabbing for power. Can you see the difference? And yet, when dumb so-called constitutional lawyers, right, who are not defending the constitution, and accuse me of being a royalist, subverting the constitution and misrepresenting and lying to all of you citizens of Malaysia as to the meaning of the constitution. Then now, okay, that refers to executive powers of the Federation. Okay, we have three arms, basically three areas: the executive, Parliament, legislative, and judiciary. Okay. Now, how many of you know? See, we always talk about Parliament as, right, the Senate, all right, Dewan Negara and Dewan Rakyat, the House of Representatives. Let me read to you who and what is Parliament. Article 44. The legislative authority of the Federation shall be vested in a Parliament which shall consist of the Young Dipertuan Agong and two Majlis, House of Parliament, to be known as the Dewan Negara, Senate, and the Dewan Rakyat, House of Representatives. So, the Parliament has three components. The Agong is first component, followed by the two houses. So, is Agong a puppet? You stupid numbskull lawyers, professors in law? This is provided in Article 44. Do you know that? Parliament, okay? Legislative authority is vested in the Agong, plus Dewan Rakyat and Dewan Negara. You don't know that, do you? Is he a puppet? You see how dangerous it is, right, for these lawyers who hold themselves out to be experts to undermine the constitution, to undermine the rulers in the Agong. And then the Senate. Okay, we always assume that the Prime Minister has the power to appoint, right, people in the Senate. Agong is just a puppet, But Article 45, and I therefore appeal in future, every ruler becomes Agong, better take note of Article 45(2) of the Constitution. Prime Minister has no say insofar as the appointment to the Senate. The members to be appointed, Commission of the Senate, right? Subject to clause 4, the Senate shall consist of elected and appointed members as follows. A. 2 members of each state shall be elected in accordance with the 7th schedule. Okay, each state would have 2, right? Senate, 7th schedule. Then, the 14 members shall be appointed by the young Diputat Agong. Other than 2 reps from each state, right, to the Senate, 40 shall be appointed by young Diputat Agong. The members to be appointed by the young Diputat Agong shall be persons who, in his opinion, have rendered distinguished public service or have achieved distinction in professions, commerce, industry, agriculture, cultural activities, or social service, or are representative of racial minorities, or are capable of representing the interests of the progenies. Okay? Where does it say it must have the advice of the cabinet or the prime minister? Now, you may say, Matthias, is assumed. No. I give an example, right? Where it must have the advice, right, of the of the prime minister or the cabinet. Because we talk about appointments, right? Where an appointment requires the prime minister's consent or advice or the cabinet, it states so. For example, the Auditor General, Article 105. There shall be an Auditor General who shall be appointed by the young Diputat Agong on the advice of the Prime Minister and after consultation with the Commission of Rulers. Can you see? If 105 says the Auditor General, right, shall be appointed by the young Diputat on the advice of the Prime Minister in consultation with the rulers, right? That means, all right, the Agong cannot appoint on his own discretion the Auditor General. So, Article 105 is an example whereby if the Agong has to act on advice, it's expressly stated in the Constitution. Just as in Article 42, it says that, right? The Agong has certain discretion, and in any other case as mentioned in the Constitution. His discretion is in 42, very specific, or other provisions in the Constitution, such as 45. He appoints a Senate. Okay, 40 members. Now, then, 48. This is where, okay, people forget Najib has been convicted of offense. Okay? And the sentence will be passed. But he has bail pending appeal. But he's still being convicted. Okay? And in Article 48, right, the scholarship of members of parliament, it says here, E. If he has been convicted of an offence by a court of law in the Federation or before Malaysia Day in the territories of comprised in the state of Sabah and Sarawak or in Singapore and sentenced to imprisonment for a term of not less than 1 year or to a fine not less than 2,000 ringgit and has not received a free pardon, okay, it is disqualified. The moment you're convicted of an offence and your term of imprisonment is less than 1 year, or more than 1 year, or fine more than 2,000 ringgit, it is disqualified. So Najib is disqualified, notwithstanding his appeal to Court of Appeal, or a stay, alright, of going to prison. E is very clear. He is disqualified. And under 48.3, it says here, the disqualification of a person under paragraph D or paragraph E of clause 1 may be removed by the young Diputat Agong and shall, if not removed, cease to be the end of the period of 5 years beginning from the date on which the return mentioned in said paragraph D was required to be lodged, or as the case may be. Only the Agong can remove the disqualification. Alright? Now, has there been any order or directive, right, from the Agong that Najib disqualification has been removed. It says here, he is disqualified automatically by paragraph 48, article 48.3 1E. He can't be in parliament. And his case will be postponed because he has to go to parliament. Where? He cannot go to parliament unless Agong, the disqualification of a person under paragraph D or E of clause 1 may be removed by the Agong. And if not removed, right, for 5 years, he cannot be a member of parliament. I stand to be corrected. Alright? Why is Najib allowed to be in parliament? Right? And Agong has the authority. Alright? Is he a puppet? Not on advice of Agong, of the cabinet or the prime minister. It's his discretion. And unless Najib can show that the disqualification has been removed by Agong, he is disqualified. And yet he's plotting, right, with Zaid Hamidi to subvert our country, subvert our constitution, okay, and subvert our government. So is the Agong a puppet, a figurehead? Right. And then you look at Article 71, Article 55. The young Deputy Agong shall from time to time summon Parliament and shall not allow 6 months to elapse between the last sitting in one session and the date appointed for its first meeting in the next session. The power to summon Parliament, because he's part of Parliament. The legislative authority of Parliament is vested in him and 2 houses. Where is the PM or cabinet? None. PM is executive. The cabinet is executive. In exercising executive power, certain areas he must be advised by the cabinet, understand? When it comes to parliament, nothing to executive, is legislative, understand? Legislative authority and power. PM has no say. Cabinet has no say. And the young Deputy Agong may prorogue or dissolve parliament. You see? So, asshole lawyers and professors of law confuse the two. As if the executive controls parliament. They're separate. Because parliament, right, consists of 3 components. The legislative authority is vested, right, first in the Agong, then the House of Representatives, and then the House Senate. Dewan Negara, Dewan Rakyat. Okay? And then, Article 60, addressed by the young Deputy Agong. The young Deputy Agong may address either House of Parliament or both Houses jointly. See? He decides that. Not the Prime Minister, not the Cabinet. Is he a puppet? Is he a figurehead? When it comes to Parliament, no! Get your law right, numbskull lawyers. And then, Article 71. Right? There is even a guarantee, you know. See, I was saying that the Agong and the rulers, right, okay, are not figureheads, are not puppets. If it was not so, why would in Article 71, the Federation shall guarantee the right of a ruler of a state to succeed and to hold, enjoy and exercise the constitutional rights and privileges of a ruler of that state in accordance with the constitution of that state. And any dispute as to the title of the succession of a ruler of any state shall be determined solely by such authorities and in such manner it may be as provided in the constitution of the state. Can you see that? The federal government must ensure, must guarantee the independence of the rulers in the states. And they are being governed by the state constitution. So are they puppets or figureheads? Otherwise, if they would just be a puppet, why would the federal government, under the Federation Malaysian Agreement, Independence Agreement, says, you guarantee, jangan main-main now, to undermine the rulers, they're independent. Okay? Now, and then Article 92, right? You all don't know, see? You can't be bothered. The National Development Plan. The role of the Agong as to the development and progress of our country. It says here, if after a recommendation from an expert committee and after consultation with the National Finance Council, the National Land Council, and the government of any state concerned, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is satisfied that it is conducive to the national interest that development plan be put into operation at any area in one or more of the states, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong may, after publishing the plan, proclaim the area or state as a developed area, and thereupon Parliament shall have the power to give effect to the development plan or any part thereof. Okay? Look! Article 92. Agong has the authority under the National Development Plan. So here's a puppet. He's a figurehead. Wake up, lah. Wake up. Okay? Now, 105, which I mentioned earlier. Okay? Where the Agong must have the advice of the Prime Minister or the Cabinet. This is always expressly provided in the article, just as I said, in the appointment of the Auditor General, or for example, the Auditor General. If it's silent, that means the advice of the Cabinet is irrelevant. Okay? Right? Likewise, the okay. Then 114. You'll be surprised, huh? Constitution of the Election Commission. It's so important, the Election Commission, is it? The integrity of the election, it says here. The Election Commission shall be appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong after consultation with the Conference of Rulers and shall consist of a chairman, a deputy chairman, and 5 other members. See? Can you imagine now? 114, the Election Commission shall be appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong after consultation with the Conference of Rulers and shall consist of a chairman, deputy chairman, and 5 other members. In appointing members of the Election Commission, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong shall have regard to the importance of securing an election commission which enjoys public confidence. Where is the Prime Minister or Cabinet? None. No role. Can you see how the government has misled even the Agong rulers? A sacrosanct, institution, Election Commission. I've been saying, right? It's so important. We can't be like America, having fraud and corruption. So, Agong appoints. I bet none of you know about that, right? Because everyone thinks that, the Prime Minister, he appoints, he selects. But 114 is very clear. The chairman and deputy chairman and 5 other members is appointed by the Agong. Not on the advice of the Prime Minister, then concurred by Agong. Agong appoints. Okay? Now, that 121, the judicial power of the Federation. Think carefully here. There shall be 2 high courts of coordinated jurisdiction and statutes, namely, one in the state of Malaya, which is known as the High Court of Malaya, and shall have its principal in registry at such place in the state of Malaya as the Yang di-Pertuan Agong may determine. And such inferior courts as may be provided by federal law and high courts, and inferior courts shall have such jurisdiction and powers as may be conferred by and under federal law. You see? Hey, the registry, right, of the High Courts of Malaya, Sabah Sarawak, right, it shall be determined by Agong. There's no reference, because the executive cannot interfere with the judiciary. Okay? Now, very important, right? 129 of the Constitution, right, has been repealed. You know what's 129 of the Constitution? I'll read it to you. Special jurisdiction of Supreme Court as to the interpretation of Constitution. Repeal. Federal Court has no jurisdiction. The special jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution. No. Repeal. 129. Okay. Then, interesting. 130. Advisory jurisdiction of the Federal Court. Read that. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong may refer to the Federal Court for its opinion any question as to the effect of any provisions of the Constitution which has arisen or appears to him likely to arise, and the Federal Court shall pronounce and inopinate its opinion on any question referred to it. Opinion. That means the Federal Court can only give an opinion on any provision of the Constitution if requested by the Agong. And we have this lawyer at Bar Council saying that we will go to court for a declaration that the Agong was unconstitutional in not proclaiming the emergency. The court has no jurisdiction whatsoever. Even the Federal Court has no jurisdiction on the interpretation of any provision of the Constitution unless the Agong refers to it. 130. 129 repeal. So once again, Agong is a puppet, a figurehead. Up yours lah, Prime Minister Mahathir. Up yours Anwar Ibrahim. Up yours Lim Guan Eng. Up yours Kit Siang. Okay? And up yours the former AG, Thomas. Have you read 130? And 129 in conjunction? One's been repealed. One says the Yang di-Pertuan may refer. It's not a judgment, no. Okay, it's an opinion. The Federal Court renders the opinion open court. It's not a judgment, opinion. Understand? It has no force of law. Right? Otherwise, they won't use opinion. Hey, Mother England, okay, is English, right? As well as Bahasa. Judgment is judgment. Okay? Opinion is opinion. Understand? Right? Opinion can never be a judgment. Okay? After advisory. Right? In the executive, the Agong must accept the advice of the executive, the cabinet. This is the executive. But when it comes to interpretation of the Constitution, right, and the jurisdiction of the Federal Court, advisory. Okay? You advise the king. Opinion. Alright? Then likewise, I go to 145, okay, about the Attorney General. That is difference. Again, like 105, right? Attorney General. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong shall, on the advice of the Prime Minister, appoint a person who is qualified to be a judge of the Federal Court or to be the Attorney General for the Federation. See? That's very clear. He can't appoint the Attorney General. He can only appoint so on the advice of the Prime Minister, like the Attorney General. Can you see now? So it's very clear, in performing the executive functions of the Federation, the King acts on advice. Right? Generally. But on certain areas, no, he can act on his own discretion. Right? But the appointment of the Attorney General, AG, right, is very clear. Right? Very clear. Now, insofar as the gaji of the AG, Agong, the AG shall receive such remuneration as the Yang di-Pertuan Agong may determine. Can you see? Appointment, yes, by the Prime Minister. But gaji, Attorney General. So I hope I have made myself very clear to all of you. Alright? Be very careful how you go around, right, saying that Agong is a puppet, right, or a figurehead. Why do you do that? Why do you show disrespect, right? And for those of us who support the Constitution and support that the Agong and the rulers are not puppet, to call us royalists. How can we be royalists? We are fighting for and holding the principles of the Constitution, right? And you people, smart ass, tell us the whole country, oh no. Agong is figurehead, rulers is not figurehead. Okay? The federal court is judiciary. There are three, executive, legislative, and judiciary. The Agong is on all three. Okay? Has a say in all three. In parliament, legislative, he's part of the three components. And he even, right, the so-called jurisdiction of the federal court, of the High Court, is not, right, absolute. It used to be absolute in the sense that they can even have power to interpret the Constitution. No more. The king will refer to the federal court. And the federal court, all right, gives opinion. But of course, all right, there are cases whereby the government enacted law which are constitutional. It's very clear. It's not really a role of interpretation. If it's very clear that you do something unconstitutional, that's it. It's unlawful. But the moment you touch areas concerning, right, the interpretation of the Agong and the rulers, tabule. So, with this very short explanation, I hope the Agong and the rulers and the Prime Minister be very careful, right? And also, I missed up, in passing, right? Proclamation of emergency. There's nowhere that it says that, right? In Article 150, if the young Deputy Agong is satisfied that a grave emergency exists, whereby the security or the economic life or public order in the federation or any part thereof is threatened, he may issue a proclamation of emergency, making therein a declaration to the effect. Where does it say he must consult the cabinet or the Prime Minister? He is a check and balance. If a Prime Minister becomes a tyrant and abuses his power, this is a check and balance. So, once again, who is Bar Council or whichever lawyer who says that he represents the Bar Council to challenge the constitutional authority of the king in the case of proclamation of emergency? And I hope the Attorney General, all right, will act correctly and have the application by whichever lawyer to stop off. There must be a strict interpretation of the Constitution. Okay? Stop lying. Right? For over 30 years. Can you imagine? This country was under a cloud to treat the Agong and rulers, right, as figurehead. And the biggest hypocrisy is this, if they are figurehead, puppets, right, why do they kowtow? And some of these businessmen are pay, whatever to do, right, to get the title, Tun, Tan Sri, Dato Ship. If they are puppets, if they are figureheads, right, why is so hard up for all these awards? Tunship, Tan Sri, Dato. You receive such awards from the king, and behind his back you spit in his face. You're a hypocrite, a numbskull, and a traitor. Okay? Traitor. So I hope, my dear fellow Malaysians, it's fundamental to the unity of this country that we uphold the dignity, all right, and the sovereignty of our king and our rulers in the respective states. If you do not, this country will collapse. Right? There'll be anarchy in this country. And those people in power, lusting for power, will use the opportunity to abolish constitutional monarchy and turn into a republic. There you see how dictatorship will reign in this country. But it won't last so long. You know why? Because once they have power, they go gila. You know, power addiction is worse than opium addiction, I'm telling you now. We've seen it for 1 year already. 2020, all this bunch of idiots, you know. Right? Even they're past the shelf life, right? They still lust for power. Okay? They don't care. And I therefore appeal to our Prime Minister and to our Agong. Please, the Agong, the institute of rulers, and the Prime Minister must come together, work together, because it's the only solution to prevent this country into anarchy and to have upstart scumbags hijacking our country for their own purposes. And I hope the Attorney General, right, will invoke the Constitution to say that Najib is disqualified to be a member of Parliament. There's no stay of conviction. There's only a stay of him going to jail by way of a bail. Conviction still stands. He's been convicted. Okay? Convicted. Habis. Unless pardoned. So why the prosecution, the DPP in court, alright, already accede to every adjournment? Oh, Najib must go to Parliament. He has a local standard. And I stand to be corrected unless he can prove to me that that disqualification has been removed, right, by the Agong as per the Constitution. If the disqualification has not been removed by Agong vis-a-vis his conviction, alright, then he's disqualified. Now, why are all the lawyers, the former Attorney General, the President Attorney General, Bar Council, keep it quiet? I wonder why. So who is now upholding the Constitution? Who has misled the Agong? So with that in mind, I hope all of you now will have a better understanding and show more respect to Agong, alright, and not show your stupidity, your infantile attitude, right? The Agong is a puppet. With that, I thank you for your attention and I bid you a good day.